Hey, Read Through the Word. Today is April 17th, and today's lesson is called Prophets. We are in 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 1, and it says this. Now, Samuel died, and all Israel gathered for his funeral. They buried him at his house in Ramah. And yes, that's it, that verse. Because I want to talk about the prophets. So, in the life of the nation of Israel, because now we're a nation in the land, getting ready, at this point, we're a kingdom. Remember the king, God, actually the role of a godly king is to point his people to the Lord. We're going to discover, spoiler, wait till your lesson on Friday, that was Saul's downfall. So this idea of informing the people about what a message from the Lord, that's the role of the prophet. Samuel is considered the last judge and first prophet for the kingdom. And it is through him that the kingdom starts. That's the most important thing Samuel does. I think a big thing for us to look at in the role of a prophet is the role of prayer. If you notice, other than Samuel does not have good kids. When you look at his life, he holds whatever God tells him to do, he does it. He takes his job seriously. But then we see his kids don't turn out well. But he's a man of prayer for the nation. He wants the nation to do what they're supposed to do. He himself exists because of prayer. That's how the book of 1 Samuel opens, is the prayer of Hannah. And her promise that that the Lord would give her a child, she would return the child back to the Lord, and that child would serve the Lord all of his days. And that's exactly what Samuel does. We see the end of the life of Samuel right here in 1 Samuel 25. And we saw his beginning in 1 Samuel 1. But the role of a prophet in speaking to the Lord, speaking to the people as a messenger from the Lord. Remember, there is no, we have the law, but we do not have what we now know as the writings of the prophets, the rest of the Old Testament. And so we see in the life of Saul, the role of Samuel as prophet, as he brings a message from the Lord. And as the people know to come to Samuel to go to the Lord for them. But from this point on, the role of prophet is huge in the Old Testament. And it is not about I always say shape up or ship out, and that's what really happens. But the call to the people to return to the Lord, for obedience, for their purpose. The role of a prophet is to remind the people of their purpose. Let's go with my P's I always use. First, to remind the people of their position as a people in covenant with God. And also to remind the people of their purpose. They are set apart to point people to God. And so what you see the prophet constantly doing, whoever the prophet is, we're going to see Samuel right now. In the life of David, we'll see a prophet named Nathan. And then we'll start seeing more prophets as we go through chronologically. But the role of the prophet is to always think exhortation, to encourage obedience, to remind the people of their position as people of covenant with God. And that covenant requires that they obey him. And then as their purpose to point other people to God. Well, when you look so much like the world, it's a little hard to point people to God because you don't look any different. The whole point of being set apart is to look different. That's what all those rules in Leviticus are for. So they look different. They're different and set apart to point people to God. That was their purpose. So the role of a prophet will be to remind people of they are a people in a place with a position for a purpose. And if they don't return to God, then everything God said in Leviticus chapter 26 and the end of Deuteronomy will happen. And I just think it's a very important thing, because as I think we only think of the role of prophet as when we get to Isaiah, Jeremiah, those. But the role of prophet is also here with Samuel, with Nathan, and then we'll get with we'll learn about Elijah and Elisha. So before we have books of prophets, there are prophets. Now those at that point, they start speaking directly to rulers. The records are written down for the people to read. I mean, specifically Amos. Amos is told, write this down so they can read it. But the role of prophet is big because, I know I keep saying spoiler, the people tend to become idolatrous. And they keep repeating the same sins. And the role of prophet is to call them back from their sin to the worship of the one true God. So as today we lay to rest the very first prophet, Samuel, pay attention to the role of prophet coming in all of our reading, the messages from the prophet, and the responses of the people. So, very quick lesson today about the role of a prophet. We'll see you next time on Read Through the Word.